Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on Cultivating Calm. This is our fourth of four of our mini webinar series called Cultivating Calm. It is all about mindfulness, movement, and mindset. And my name is Carrie Ann Gwynn. I am the Verizon Skill Forward project coordinator for Alliance for Hope International, and I have the distinct privilege of working closely with the domesticshelters.org team. I am joined with all of our behind the scenes folks. And while I'm thinking it, I am going to rename myself so that you know who I am. And then while I do that, I would encourage all of you to silence notifications if you haven't already. Part of the goal of this time is to actually be present. This is not a to-do list item to check off like, oh, well, I attended Cultivating Calm, I did the things, now I'm good. We're actually trying to grow something in ourselves. And the reason why we do this, specifically as a part of our Verizon Skill Forward program, is that we know that if we are not in a place of calm, of regulation in our nervous systems, there are so many things that are not able to grow. When we're stuck in a place of shutdown or fight or flight, we're not able to goal set, we're not able to forward think, and we just get stuck trying to just get through the moment that we're in because in the nervous system, in the mind, in the body, nothing else exists except that moment. So please turn off notifications, close down your email. This is only half an hour. I want to challenge you to be completely present. One of the challenges in our society in general is that we have so much noise and input that are constantly bombarding us. And so this is one of those moments we get to say, you know what, world? Everything out there is going to have to wait because this is where I'm going to be right now. We want to say thank you to Verizon for helping sponsor this session and this amazing program. Verizon Skill Forward is an upskilling initiative, in case this is new to you. And the goal is to help you remain relevant in the job market because with all of the changes of technology, it's hard to do that. And we're finding that we actually need to reskill and upskill every 4 years in order to remain relevant. Oh, I'm so sorry. I have a hair in my mouth. Um, so that is a part of our Verizon Skill Forward program. We also offer one-on-one coaching. We have a bunch of webinars that go out once a month, basically. We have a weekly newsletter that helps give you just motivational tidbits and ideas and time management tools. So if you are interested in joining us in Verizon Skill Forward, we would love to have you. The registration link is in the chat. And then we are here to talk about how to cultivate calm, how to grow awareness of our own nervous systems. And I'm curious to know how many of you are here for the first time with Cultivating Calm. If you are here for the first time, you can let us know in the chat. I'm new. We are so glad that you're here. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Yay! We've got a lot of new folks. I am so glad. Well, in case you want to catch up on our other Cultivating Calm sessions, we have recordings of them. We have gone through different nervous system states in this mini series, and I am going to share with you the polyvagal ladder. This is one of the resources that we have to understand the nervous system and kind of understand what's going on in us. And here it is. So the polyvagal ladder is created by Dr. Stephen Porges, and it basically is the idea that within the vagus nerve that comes from the brainstem down into the torso, innervating all of these different organ systems and parts of the body, there are different branches of the vagus nerve. So at the top of the ladder, we have the ventral vagal state. Ventral vagal presence is what this is often called. And in a perfect world, this would be our baseline. This would be the place where we come back to. Stress is normal, but we don't want to live in it all the time. It's meant to be acute. So we want to be able to come back to ventral vagal presence where we feel safe and confident and capable. And the story that feels true of the nervous system in this place is, I got this. I have what it takes. And not in a way where we're trying to convince ourselves, but in a way where there's a deep knowing, no matter what comes my way, I'm going to be able to figure this out. And then a little further down the ladder, we have sympathetic activation. We talked about this in week 2. This is such a common way to feel, especially if you've experienced trauma. Often the nervous system can get stuck in this place of feeling unsafe and needing to react to threats. Hypervigilance lives in this space, and the story that feels true when we're in this state is, I have to do something now or else. There is a sense of urgency and that we are constantly under threat. A lot of times this is referred to as fight or flight. And a lot of times in our bodies, we talked about feeling the urge and the need to actually fight or flee, because all of these chemical processes are happening in the body that in our ancestors were designed so that they could fight or flee. They could fight the predator, they could run from the saber-toothed tiger, and yet we don't allow that loop to fully close. We don't actually run away because we know, oh, I need to stay in this conflict with my spouse, or I need to keep having this conversation. I can't get out of this traffic, whatever it is. We live in a very different world than what our bodies are currently kind of programmed and wired for. And then at the bottom of the ladder is dorsal vagal shutdown. And we talked about this last week. It is a feeling of overwhelm and immobilization. And the story of this part is, I can't. I do not have what it takes. Often we find ourselves in this, like, I just want to lay down. I want to be in the fetal position. Maybe paralysis, immobilization, all of those things are in this space. And then between sympathetic activation and dorsal vagal shutdown is this kind of functional freeze state. That is not a DSM term, but it has kind of been coined because it's this adaptive part of the nervous system where the story that feels true is, I have to do something now or else, but I can't. And I'm guessing that feels very familiar to a lot of people. I myself have experienced this a lot. And the more that I learn about it, the more I realize how that is such a common place for me to feel. You might feel this way if you wake up in the morning and your mind is racing about all the things that you need to do. And oh, should I do this first? Or what about that? And how am I going to manage this? And the mind is going nuts, like, oh my gosh, I have to handle all these things. But the body is not moving. I even felt this way this morning. I was laying in bed, like, oh my gosh, I am talking about functional freeze today, and I am literally in a functional freeze state right now. Like, I'm not actually playing dead. I'm showered. I'm here. But with functional freeze, there is a disconnection. The inside and the outside are not going to be matching in this place. So it could be that you're still doing a lot, you're still being productive, but you're not feeling very much. You don't feel in tune with yourself. It may even feel like starting things feels frustratingly difficult. We talked about this before. Part of vagal shutdown or dorsal vagal shutdown sometimes is small things feeling extremely difficult. And the same is true in the functional freeze state. So starting something like unloading the dishwasher, or even just getting up out of bed because the mind is going wild, but the body is saying, hey, you're overwhelming me. This is too much. And so, because I am wired to protect us, I need to shut down because this is way too much. In this state, rest doesn't feel restorative. You may sleep for 10 hours and you still wake up exhausted. You might feel tired in like a really deep in your bones type of way. You might feel stuck without knowing why. And you also may feel like you're watching yourself from the outside. I don't know if any of you have had this experience before where you're just like, okay, I'm doing the things that I normally do, but I'm not feeling connected to this at all. In this state, you may not be in active crisis, but you don't really feel very alive either. In this state, the mind and the body are at odds. So the mind might be racing with all the things we need to do, but you're just laying in bed. It's not actually mobilizing you. Whereas in that sympathetic activation space, those thoughts of urgency, they get us to move, they get us to do the things. That is a very action-based, protective state. And as you're hearing this, you might be like, oh my gosh, I've been living in functional freeze my whole life. What is wrong with me? There is nothing wrong with you. Okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. We are humans living in a really complex world with complex lived experiences, and our bodies are doing their best to protect us. You might notice that I immediately put my hands on my chest when I said that to you. Um, that feels very supportive for me. It feels like one of the ways that I can offer kindness to myself. And in this state, we don't want to force ourselves out of it. We don't want to go too fast because remember, there is a sense of paralysis and immobilization. And so we need to offer gentleness to the body. One of the ways that we can do this is through orienting. So, orienting is the idea of using our eyes to just look around. And I invite you to do this with me, to look around at where you are. Often in that functional freeze state, the mind is overactive, but the body is underactive. So we're trying to bring the mind down a little bit and bring the body up a little bit. So we're just moving the eyes and head around. And as you do, you're looking at your space. I invite you to notice textures, maybe the way light is bouncing off of things. And if you find something that feels pleasant or neutral, I encourage you to just allow your eyes to rest on that. I'm seeing trees out the window that are blowing in the breeze. And so I'm just thinking, gosh, that's peaceful. I'm going to let my eyes rest there for a minute. And then notice what might happen to your breath, what might happen to your shoulders, to your face when you just allow your gaze to pause on something that is lovely. It doesn't even have to be lovely. It could just be not bad. That's the goal. We're not trying to make a to-do list as we look around. We're just noticing and helping bring the nervous system back into the present moment. Because it can often feel like we're living in the future, we're living in the past, when in reality, the only moment we have is right now. And then in this functional freeze state, often we become a little bit dissociated from our physical experience. And so when I'm working with someone that's in this state, I might say, "Oh, what do you notice in your body?" And they say, "I can't feel my body." I'm like, "Okay, let's start there, right?" That gives us some data. And so I want to invite you to do a little bit of a grounding exercise. So orienting is we're looking around to the space and recognizing, okay, this is where I am. I'm not in the past. I'm not in the future. This is where I am. Grounding is even more so physically coming into the present moment. And a lot of times in this state, it can feel difficult to tune into the body. And so we're going to use really micro movements to bring the body online. You can do this in a lot of different ways. If you're sitting in a chair, you might choose to push one foot into the floor and then the other. I am already sitting on the floor right now. So I have my hands on my thighs and I'm pushing one hand down gently into my thigh and releasing, and then pushing the other hand down gently into the other thigh and releasing. And you can keep alternating back and forth. If you have more anxious movement energy in your body, you might find that you want this movement to be quick, like you're shaking. And if you need that, that is totally okay. I want you to listen to your body and just lean into those impulses. Um, but for the purposes of this, we're teaching what to do in a functional freeze state. And so we're bringing the body back online with really gentle movement. This is another form of what we call proprioceptive input and just helping the body to locate itself in space and remind the nervous system, hey, we're okay. Right now in this moment, we're okay. If you find it helpful to close your eyes, you can always do that. And as you apply pressure, whether it's with your feet or hands, there's a lot of different things that you could notice. You could notice what pressure feels like. For me, as I'm pushing my hands into my legs, I'm noticing the squishiness of my thighs. I'm noticing the difference of if I push with the heel of my hand versus my whole hand. What is what does that feel like? What is the difference? You might notice certain muscles that are contracting and activating as you are engaging in this little pressure exercise. You might even notice your breath slowing down. You might notice your breath speeding up. Maybe you came into this with low heart rate, slow breathing, and you're noticing that this is bringing you a little bit further up that ladder. And we're going to stay here for about 1 more minute, just playing with the pressure. You might even choose to pair some breathing with it. Maybe you breathe in while there's no pressure, and then breathe out. Push one hand or one foot down. And then as you release, breathe in. And you breathe out, push down. As you keep following your own breath pattern here, you might find that there are other things that your body wants to do to help bring safety. And again, part of our practice is learning to listen to the wisdom of the body and of the nervous system, and not just listen, but respond. I don't know if there's any fans of the movie Hitch out there, but when Hitch is teaching one of his dating clients how to date, he's very clear: listen and respond. That is what we are doing with the body. We're saying, hey, what do you need? Okay, I'm actually going to give you that. I'm not going to ignore you. What your needs are, they matter. Listen and respond. Let's go through that breath cycle one more time. Inhale, exhale. Another one of my favorite practices when it comes to just slowly bringing the body back online. Um, I'm going to give you a word picture. I love word pictures. One of the things that I often think of when I'm feeling mentally overwhelmed, is those blow up money boxes. Just stay with me here, okay? So have you seen these at like fairs or grad night where it'll be some credit union that has this blow up money box and they put cash in there and then they turn on a fan so it's just flying everywhere and someone goes in and they're trying to grab, they get to keep as much money as they can grab in a certain amount of time. Often in this functional freeze, the mind is feeling that way. The thoughts are going wild, and we're just trying to grab things, grab things, grab things. Like, oh, I got to remember this. Oh gosh, I have to make sure I do that thing. That is a stressful way to feel. And I know that because I've felt that way on many occasions. One of the ways that we can kind of calm that state is with our bodies and with the power of visualization. So, as you breathe in, I encourage you to float your hands up and see how my hands, they're not rigid. I'm more lifting with the wrist and allowing the hand to follow. And then we're just, as we exhale, going to slowly bring the hands back down. You can make this movement as small as you need to. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be just even on your legs, just right hovering above your legs. You're gently lifting the hands as you inhale and floating them down as you exhale. And as you do that, you can imagine that those thoughts that are flying and swirling around with all the urgency, they are just gently floating down to the ground. And again, I encourage you to listen to your body and allow this movement to be as big or as little as it needs to be. When we're in this state of a functional freeze, slow and steady wins the race. We don't need to overdo it. This is our way of rebelling against this culture of powering through all the time. We've talked before in other sessions about some things you might experience in your body as your nervous system shifts. You might notice things like your ears popping. You might notice a desire to yawn, to sigh. This is one of those places where you are more than welcome to yawn here. We know you're not bored. Well, you might be bored, but we know that these are signs that the nervous system is shifting into a state of rest and digest, coming back toward ventral vagal presence. We'll go through this a couple more times. But also, I will say that if any point your body is just telling you, please stop this, listen and respond. Okay. And then once you get through that last breath cycle, you can allow your hands to rest on your legs or maybe on the table. And ask yourself this question: for me right now, what is present? We just took some time to, it might have been to slow down for some if you came into this in more of a place of anxiety and a lot of a lot of movement, but for many you may have been feeling shut down, and so maybe you came up the ladder a little bit. And we just want to ask the body and the mind, like, what is present right now? We so rarely give ourselves the space to actually listen, because we fill our time, we fill our minds, we fill it all up with noise. All the space gets filled up with noise of calls and podcasts and watching shows and checking social media. So we slow down and we ask what's present. And if you're feeling like you want level 2, maybe you even say, what is one thing that I need today? One thing. This is not the time to overhaul your whole entire life. Okay. one thing that you need today? I think one of my one things that I needed today was to make space to breathe with you. It's a good reminder that we can always come back to these practices. They are accessible to you, they are inside of your own body. And as we have a few more minutes and you're here, you don't have to be anywhere else. I want you to ask yourself this one question. What is one thing in my body that feels either good or neutral? One sensation that you notice in your body that feels good or neutral. And maybe you choose to kind of give yourself a little body scan, just a brief, starting at your toes. Do my toes feel positive or neutral? If no, keep moving up. How about my ankles? How about my calves? How about my knees? How about my thighs? My hamstrings? My hips? My low back? My belly? How about my rib cage? We don't think about our rib cages that often, do we? And they're supporting us and protecting our lungs all day, every day. It's a nice little opportunity to just say thank you. Thank you, body. You're doing so much. Or maybe you feel something positive or neutral in your chest or the back of your arms, or maybe your forearms, your wrists, or your hands, your fingers, maybe your neck, the back of your head, your cheeks, your jaw. Maybe your eyebrows feel positive or neutral, or maybe your scalp. Even as a person that struggles with chronic pain, I can find something positive or neutral. And then when you do find it, maybe you allow yourself to just sit with it for a minute and think, gosh, what is the quality of this sensation? Is it heavy? Is it warm? Is it cool? Is it spacious? Is it tingly? And then just allow yourself to be present there. When we do this practice of just recognizing there's got to be one thing, it's like my pointer finger feels pretty good today. We are telling our bodies it's not all bad. It's okay. There is safety to be found even here in the present moment. Then I encourage you to just slowly bring a little bit of movement into your body. And this can look however you want it to. For me, I'm noticing that neck rolls feel like something my body is wanting. You might even do something as small as moving your fingers like this and tuning into the sensation of finger pads touching each other, seeing if you can hear the noise. And then I would love for us to finish our practice the same way that we started, with orienting. And as you look around, the same space is probably the same space that you started in. Just notice if anything has changed in the way that you see it. If you notice that things are a little bit more technicolor than there were before, or you're noticing things that you didn't see when you looked the first time. When you're ready, you can bring your eyes back to the screen. Thank you so much for joining us in Cultivating Calm today. And for those of you that have joined us in other sessions, we are so grateful. Our desire is that this has created a container and a space for you to learn about your own nervous system and to also bolster up your own toolkit so that when you find yourself in these various states, you don't just feel stuck and like you're a victim to sympathetic activation or dorsal vagal shutdown. You have tools. You are so worthy of being cared for by others and by yourself. So may these tools bless you as you move forward in your work. We are in your life. We are so glad that you have joined us, and we look forward to being in touch with you in other ways. Thank you for being here. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.